Hello! If you're like me, you might have scared yourself out of chasing your dreams once or twice or a dozen thousand times in favor of a more practical future in which you don't let your family down. You can hold your head up high whenever you go out and your friends ask you how you're doing. Anyways, for the longest time, I have always dreamt of pursuing something within the creative field, but I was always deterred by something or someone or me. So instead of pursuing a creative career, I got a job as a software developer and allowed it to wither away at me for many years. Until it got to the point where my anxiety was getting worse, my depression was no longer seasonal, and I had developed insomnia and started having panic attacks for the first time. One sleepless night, I was scrolling on YouTube and I saw a post that caught my eye. A creator I followed, Mew Tripled, was hosting an art career journey trip to South Korea near the end of the year. If you're not familiar with her, Michelle Lam, aka Mew Tripled, is a content creator and graphic novelist of the series Mish the Bad Demon. Outside of that, she is an extremely kind and chill individual who has dedicated so much of her time to helping other artists break into the industry. After convincing my parents that it wasn't a scam and then roping my partner into it just in case it was a scam, I closed my eyes and booked my spot on the trip. And before I knew it, we were on our way. For the trip itinerary, it would be a total of 7 days. We got opportunities to explore and gather inspiration from South Korea, while also networking with other artists and getting insight from Michelle. Day 0. For us, this trip started just a little bit early. We flew out a day before since the first day on the official itinerary was for travel. And thanks to the Discord, we found out there were 3 other artists arriving at the same time as us. Once we arrived at the airport in Seoul, we got to meet Salome, Kaylee, and Tiara. Then the 5 of us were off and made our way to the hotel together via the train. With all of our luggage and not a single escalator in sight, when we made it to the hotel, we dropped off our stuff and ate at a restaurant nearby. I don't think I'll ever forget this little detail, but that meal for 5 people cost 23 USD. It was amazing. And maybe it's a bit biased because of the good company I was with, but I definitely think that was one of the best meals I had while I was in Korea. Day 1. And on the next day, the trip officially started. We woke up bright and early and headed to Tuleju across the street to get breakfast. There, we met Enrique and Ben. Michelle messaged the group to come downstairs to the hotel lobby and grab the goodies she brought for us. Anxious, but mostly excited, we ran downstairs and said a quick hello to Michelle. She gave us our goodies, and inside we got these super cute sketchbooks to use during our trip, as we would be having sketch challenges throughout the week. She also gifted us a pencil pouch with drawing supplies and a custom sticker. We ran upstairs to put our goodies away and came back down to the lobby and finally got to meet the rest of the group. Additionally, we also met our tour director, Sung-yi, who is the sweetest, most kind human being alive, and I really appreciate her for making sure we were all together and prepared throughout this trip. Now that our group was together, we got on a giant tour bus and headed to our welcome dinner at a really fancy KBBQ place. Day 2! After getting acquainted with everyone at the dinner, the next day we were off to gather inspiration. Before we got started, Michelle gave us all a talk, and she encouraged us to take plenty of pictures for reference later. For our first stop in the morning, we tried on hanboks and visited a castle. Which one? I can't remember, but entry was free whenever you were wearing a hanbok. We walked around the castle and Sung-yi gave us a bunch of cool historical facts as we looked around. One fact that I remembered really clearly was that there are no trees in the innermost part of the castle, so the assassins didn't have a place to hide behind. So there were a lot of wide open courtyards. Afterwards, we grabbed lunch at Gwangjong Market, where we got to try a smorgasbord of different Korean foods. On the menu, there was bibimbap, kimbap, live octopus, spicy tteokbokki, a seaweed soup, yakho, and a bunch of different banjeon. Afterwards, we headed to a park where we took some time to have a group drawing session. Ah, yes. After spending the day taking countless reference photos, I was revved up to draw. And of course, I left my sketchbook on the bus. In my defense, at this point, it was the end of the day and my backpack was stuffed with goodies I had bought from the market. There was also an incident where someone, Mr. Snoo, left their passport at the restaurant. And I don't know, I just thought, oh, well, my bag is super heavy and I don't want to forget it. Well, I certainly forgot that we were going to the park to draw. So I don't have much to say about that part of the art journey experience. I was literally the only one out of 20-something people who forgot. Some of the other artists did offer to tear me out a piece of paper from their freshly gifted sketchbooks, but as kind as the offer was, I just couldn't be the one to ruin the sanctity of a fresh sketchbook. Day 3! On day 3, we headed to the Seoul Forest and the Sky Observatory. At the Seoul Forest, there was a small deer enclosure where we practiced quick gestural drawings. It was at this moment where I knew what separated the pros from the rest. Personally, I had never tried to draw anything that was constantly in motion, so I was really struggling trying to capture the essence of the deer. And I ended up taking a bunch of reference photos to use in my sketchbook for later, which kind of defeats the purpose of the exercise, but I don't know, I was just feeling really frustrated. But when I looked over at Michelle's sketchbook, she had already captured so many scenes and poses with the deer with such minimal yet precise strokes. I was honestly so inspired in that moment. After drawing the deer for a bit, we got some free time to explore the rest of the park and practice other live drawings. Some people in the group ended up finding this super precious kitty taking a nap in the sun. So of course we had to draw it. When we finished up at the Seoul Forest, we rushed over to the Sky Observatory. I'm going to be very sincere here. I am absolutely terrified of heights, so I kind of blacked out for most of this. I can only remember on the way up, we took a super fast elevator that popped my ears really bad, and other than that, I was hugging the wall for most of the time. Day 4, Busan! The evening prior, we had taken the train to Busan, and so day 4, we began our adventure in this beautiful beachy city. While in Busan, we visited the beautiful and brightly colored Gamcheon village. There are so many little shops to see, and if you climb this insanely steep set of stairs, you can get a really good view of the entire village. It was so cute and whimsical, it felt like something right out of a Ghibli film. We were even given these maps at the beginning that had locations with stamps. If we collected all the stamps, we would end up getting a prize by the time we returned. I really appreciated this because the village is a lot bigger than it seemed. We spent about 2 hours there, and honestly, that still felt kind of rushed. Luckily, we found this super cool underground store, and I was able to purchase one of my favorite prints of all time ever. Just looking at it brings me joy. In the evening, we had one of my favorite workshops with Michelle. We divided into groups based on which industry we would like to go into: gaming, television, entrepreneurship, or illustration. Michelle came to each of our groups and answered all of our questions that we had about achieving our goals in each industry. And personally, I asked a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your patience. Day 5. The next day, we walked around Haedong Yeongguksa Temple to gather more inspiration and reference images. Again, this is yet another place that felt like it was right outside of a movie. Everything was bathed in gold and it was right along the coast. It had this ethereal, dreamy feel to it. The rest of the day was for travel. We said goodbye to Busan and made our way back to Seoul. Day 6. On day 6, we started off by heading to the ColourPop Museum. I'm not gonna lie, I was really skeptical of this place at first. I thought, why the heck are we going to this soulless, cash grab? Oh my god, there's a ball pit. I started off a hater and ended up being the last one to leave the building. I had so much fun in there, and I honestly wasn't ready to leave. I don't even like taking selfies, but I found it fun just for the experience. With all the different props and setups that they had, it was practically begging you to open your creative mind. That evening, before our group farewell dinner, we had one final workshop with Michelle. We sat by the Han River, and I couldn't stop thinking about all the murder mysteries I had listened to up until that point. And then Michelle gave us a challenge to make a 4-panel comic in 5 minutes about a memorable moment from our trip. I made my comic about the moment Sung-yi held me with my hanbok at the palace on day 2, and my partner made his comic about the moment we accidentally walked into a stranger's room at the hotel while they were completely naked on the bed. One thing I really liked about this activity was after we were finished, Michelle gave us time to present our comics to one another, and as someone with severe anxiety about everything, something overtook me in that moment, and I really wanted to share with the group. I didn't want to squander this opportunity, so I got up and I shared my story, something I honestly never thought I would be able to do before. Michelle gave those who presented some helpful tips about how to enhance their comics. Afterwards, we had a group discussion about making money in the art industry. Day 7! Day 7, the last day of the trip. Somehow this trip had only been a week long, and yet it felt like I had been here for over a month, but in a good way. Even though it felt longer than it was, I was not ready for it to be over. The group all ate breakfast together, and we dragged out saying our goodbyes until eventually someone complained about us being too loud, and we actually were forced to say our goodbyes. There were still a few of us who had extended our trips outside of the art journey dates, so we said our goodbyes a bit later, and I definitely did not cry my eyes out in front of the hotel lobby. I'm too cool for that. I don't know how I got so lucky to go on this trip with so many complete strangers, and yet all of them were amazing and interesting and talented and just... I wish I could say that I have made a lot more progress in my art journey since then, but unfortunately, it's nowhere near where I want it to be for a year out. Actually, I wrote this script last year, and I'm just now looking at it again November 3rd, 2025. I had a lot of personal issues I was working through, along with some gnarly anxiety surrounding social media and my capabilities as an artist. To be honest, this is something the art group helped me with too. A few months post-trip, we had a catch-up call, and during, I had mentioned some of the anxieties I was having to the group. Salome, who was paraphrasing something Ben had told her, said, "Whenever you create something, there's an audience for it. By not sharing it, you're hiding your work from your audience. Someone out there will like it and connect with it because you made it and connect with it." Or something like that. I am also paraphrasing. Sorry, Ben. Hearing that was the push I needed to finally make this channel, as well as my other socials. It still took a bit of time to actually post anything on them, but it was a step in the right direction. My dreams weren't going to come true if I kept running away from them. With that being said, thank you to everyone in the Korea crew for your kindness and support towards myself and one another. Even just being able to see you guys move forward in your own goals is inspiring, and I will always be cheering you on. And thank you, Michelle, for bringing us all together. Thank you all so much for watching. Whoa. Huh? Oh yeah, I just like how bright it is. Binka, stop, it's okay. I wanted to get you guys walking past.
Oh really? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's